Today's recipe, ground beef stroganoff. Welcome everybody to the Quarantine Kitchen for another recipe today. Today's ground beef stroganoff, we're going to start out in a large skillet with 2 pounds of ground beef. Over medium-high heat, we're going to brown this ground beef. Once it starts to brown up, we'll add our spices. Today we're using 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 1/2 teaspoon of pepper, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, and 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. Make sure that you thoroughly cook the ground beef, no pink left in it. Once it's nice and browned up, we're going to remove it from the skillet. And we're going to put it in a colander to drain off the excess fat. Just set a colander over a bowl, add the ground beef, and let all that excess fat run off into the bowl. We're going to set the ground beef aside for the time being. And in the same frying pan, we're going to add 1/2 stick of butter and 2 medium diced onions. We'll let those onions saute in the butter for a couple of minutes. And once the onions are nice and translucent, we're going to add the other 1/2 stick of butter and 3 cups of sliced mushrooms. When the mushrooms start to cook down, add about 1 teaspoon of salt, about 1/2 teaspoon of pepper. Boy, does that look good. Once the mushrooms are cooked down, remove them from the frying pan, and in the same frying pan, we're going to keep on going. Boy, does this smell good. In the same frying pan, we're using 10.5 ounces of beef stock. Another option, if it's available, is a 10.5 ounce can of Campbell's beef consomme soup. But if it's not available, 10.5 ounces of beef stock works great. We're going to make a slurry of 1/3 cup flour, 1/3 cup water. You might have to add a little bit more than 1/3 of a cup to get it nice and creamy. And add this slurry to the beef stock over medium-high heat, very slowly and continuously stirring while adding that flour and water mixture, because that sauce will thicken up very quickly. Constantly keep stirring. As it thickens, we're going to add 1 teaspoon of minced garlic. Incorporate the garlic into the stock, and now we're going to add 1.5 cups of sour cream. As you can see, we're still cooking over medium-high heat. We'll add the 1.5 cups of sour cream and blend it all together. Once the sour cream starts to heat up and thin out, we're going to add 1 tablespoon of tomato paste. We'll get all of those mixed up and add another pinch of salt and another pinch of pepper. Once everything's nice and smooth, we're going to add back our onion and mushroom mixture. Make sure to get all those buttery juices in there for flavor. Now comes the ground beef that we had set aside earlier. Once the ground beef is all incorporated into our mixture, we're going to leave it on a very low heat and set this mixture aside on very low heat. In a large pot, we're going to put 4 quarts of salted water, and we're going to make our extra wide egg noodles. Once the water comes to a boil, we're going to add 1 pound of extra wide egg noodles to our boiling water. Very slowly we add the noodles. The package directions on our noodles said once we bring it back to a boil, to boil for about 7 to 9 minutes. We let ours go for about 8 minutes. Once the noodles have boiled, we'll strain them off. And we're going to add about a tablespoon or so of olive oil to the noodles just to keep them from sticking together. Now we're going to take the noodles to our serving dish. We're using a 9x13 serving dish. Lay the noodles down and spread them out in the serving dish. And now we're going to add our ground beef stroganoff over the top of the noodles. What we did was kind of spread it out, just leaving a little bit of noodles around the very edge exposed. Once you've covered your noodles, we're going to finish it off with a big dollop of sour cream on top. And for a pretty presentation, we'll add some parsley flakes to the top just to give it a little bit of color. And there you have it. Ground beef stroganoff over extra wide egg noodles. Hope you've enjoyed today's recipe and hope you'll come back and see us again for our next recipe. Thanks a lot for joining us. Bye-bye.